Blake Lively didn't want to quit the movie. She wanted control. One of the biggest stressors she mentions is the lack of support after giving birth. Not having a baby nurse, briefly finding one who is only available for a few days, and then being left without consistent help is not a small issue, especially for someone preparing to return to a physically demanding job. Postpartum recovery alone is difficult, but when paired with sleep deprivation, emotional vulnerability, and looming professional obligations, it becomes overwhelming. Then comes the pressure of returning to work immediately. Not just any work, but a film that requires physical readiness, discipline, and constant presence on set. She talks about wanting to work out every day, wanting to feel prepared, while simultaneously knowing she'll be filming all day, every day. That internal conflict, wanting to meet expectations while knowing your body and mind may not be ready, creates a constant sense of failure before the work even begins. What stands out most is her repeated questioning of her own decision-making. "What have I done?" is not a throwaway line. It's the realization that a choice made months earlier, under very different circumstances, no longer feels survivable. She explains that the only reason she agreed to the project was because she had given her word. Backing out didn't feel like an option. She felt morally and professionally trapped by her own commitment. As the start date gets closer, the anxiety intensifies. The reality becomes unavoidable. This isn't hypothetical anymore, it's happening. And panic replaces optimism. This emotional state is critical to understanding everything that follows, because it explains why she later begins searching for leverage, control, and ultimately, a way out. This wasn't about ambition anymore. It was about survival. She acknowledged this herself. She knew she couldn't terminate the contract. She knew she had accepted the offer. And she knew that the project had already moved forward based on her participation. In Hollywood, once that point is reached, an actor's leverage shifts dramatically. The studio holds the power, not the performer. So if she couldn't leave, the only remaining option was control. This is where the strategy changes. Instead of trying to exit the film, she began attempting to reshape it. She openly admitted that the movie she agreed to had changed significantly and that she was trying to make it better. But what that really meant was regaining influence over something she felt trapped inside. At the same time, she had not signed her actor loan-out agreement. That detail matters. Despite months of negotiations and multiple drafts, the contract was never fully executed. This left both sides in a tense standoff, with production moving forward while key legal terms remained unresolved. Two major issues dominated those negotiations: credit and conduct. The studio insisted that her on-screen credit, promotional placement, and executive producer title would be contingent on her compliance with the morality clause. She wanted those credits guaranteed, no matter what. Morality clauses exist to protect studios from reputational and operational harm. They don't just cover crimes. They can include hostile behavior, intimidation, bullying, threats, leaking confidential information, or actions that sabotage production. From the studio's perspective, this was non-negotiable. From her perspective, agreeing to that condition while actively pressuring the production could put her at serious risk. If she signed and continued using threats or leverage, the studio could argue she breached the contract and revoke her credits, or worse, terminate her. She had no power to terminate them. They had several ways to terminate her. That imbalance explains why she resisted sign-in. Most critical shift happens late in the negotiations, very late. On April 18, 2024, for the first time, her legal team introduced new language redefining how sexual harassment would function under the contract. This was not part of earlier drafts. It appeared only after disputes over profit participation, promotion obligations, and creative control had intensified. The studio's original language was standard: sexual harassment is prohibited, and if the artist engages in it, the company has the right to terminate the agreement. That's common and expected. What she proposed was something entirely different. Her team wanted language that would allow her to terminate the agreement if she became aware of sexual harassment by the company, without investigation, without findings, and without due process. Not only that, but she would still receive full compensation and retain the right to pursue legal action. This is highly unusual. It would have given her unilateral power to shut down the production based solely on an allegation or awareness, regardless of proof. Even more significantly, she attempted to override arbitration clauses and remove limitations on damages, opening the door to punitive and special damages that both parties had previously waived. In practical terms, this would have allowed her to block distribution of the film, claim control over footage involving her likeness, and still get paid, all while suing the studio. She wouldn't own the film, but she could make releasing it legally and financially impossible. That's why this clause mattered so much. It wasn't just about protection. It was about leverage. The studio refused. They also refused to waive execution requirements. She wanted the agreement to be binding without her signature, relying instead on a separate 17-point addendum that gave her broader rights, especially regarding retaliation claims. The studio made it clear, without a signed agreement and executed inducement, nothing was enforceable.